What's up, you guys, and welcome back to my channel. There's been another update in the David and Jenelle domestic violence call situation. We've since found out, since yesterday actually, via TMZ, that it was Jenelle Evans herself who placed the 911 call. The audio was leaked and you could hear her sobbing throughout the whole entire thing. It's very, very difficult to listen to. There were a few things within her 911 call that really kind of stuck out to me. First of all, when she called and the operator was speaking to her, she said that she felt as if her collarbone might have been broken or something because David had pinned her down in the yard and assaulted her. And it's quite scary to think when you realize that Jenelle is what, like 5'3", 5'2". She's a very, very tiny girl, and David, on the other hand, is over a foot taller than her. He's like 6'3" or something like that. So when you imagine what that must have been like for her, being so tiny for someone, and then like her husband who is over a foot taller than her, pinning her down, like that is absolutely freaking terrifying. But you know, the call gets really weird from there. Like the entire time she blamed the situation on David drinking. But I don't feel like that was an unusual occurrence in their household. That just happened because, you know, he was drinking a little bit that night. In my opinion, just based off what we've seen on the show, this probably happened at least once before, if not a couple more times, unfortunately. So, you know, she was it seemed like she was kind of covering up for him in that instance. And then she kind of lied a little bit about David's whereabouts and whether or not he was armed. So first of all, the operator asked if she knew where David was, and she said that he was inside. Then she later changed it to, oh, he might have been gone. And then it seems like somewhere in the call towards the end, David returns and she refers to him as her ex, and he kind of from afar talks her into getting off of the phone with the operators. And when the operator was talking to her, asking whether or not he had weapons around the house or anything like that, because that is a very serious concern when you're dealing with domestic violence. She said that she didn't know, which is absolutely not true, because David is incredibly gun crazy. You know, he teaches Kaiser to use a gun too, and Kaiser at the time when he started doing that was like 3, 4, you know, like all the kids are going to be gun trained because it's really important to him. He got Jenelle her own gun to carry around, so she knew that there were weapons, like specifically guns, within the house and around the property as well, but she kind of acted like oblivious to all of that, which, you know, was not a smart thing to do at all, because it is a very valid question and a very valid concern, you know, from the perspective of law enforcement officers, not only for Jenelle's own safety, but for their own safety as well, especially when you're dealing with someone as unhinged as David Eason. She also talked about how she wasn't really able to breathe, and that she also just had a surgery the past Monday. So not even a full week had passed before this happened, and she must have been really going through it at that moment. She also mentioned that she had the 4 kids inside of the house sleeping, which is really sad to think about it, because I doubt that they were sleeping at this time, because there had to have been quite a lot of noise and yelling going on out there, and they were probably like more aware of what was going on than Jenelle cares to acknowledge, or could have even realized at that moment. So it's really sad and unfortunate that they were all there for this incident, especially with police coming to the home and everything, ambulance as well, the sirens, like, you know, it's a lot, and it's very traumatic, especially considering how prevalent police have already been in their very, very young lives. So we've already heard the audio from the tape, but that's not stopping Jenelle from denying what went down. Remember, in my previous video, we talked about how Jenelle was claiming that the phone call and the only thing that happened was that she fell next to a bonfire. Clearly, we know that that is false. Even before the call was released, we knew that was false. But since it's been released, she went and spoke to E about it, and she said, and I quote, "It was a drunk and dramatic misunderstanding. Everything is great. We're totally fine. Just taking time off social media, time to focus on ourselves and our family." Obviously, it raises quite a few red flags that the whole situation went from a hysterical phone call to her denying that any sort of assault ever took place and claiming that she simply tripped and fell. Sorry. And now she is blaming herself, saying that she was dramatic and misunderstanding the situation. You can't exactly misunderstand a 6'3" man pinning you down as a 5'2", 5'3" woman. Like, there's no real way to misunderstand that, especially since you just had a really serious facial surgery not even a week prior to the incident. This, you know, screams domestic violence, especially with David's extremely sordid history. It absolutely screams domestic violence, and it's just sad to see the denial going on here, though it is not surprising because that's just how this cycle works. Jenelle's family and friends have gone to tabloids like Radar Online and talked about how they feared for her life, and they don't know whether or not she'll be able to make it out of this. And less than 24 hours after the phone call was released, her husband, David Eason, Instagrammed a photo of himself, her, and their daughter Ensley with a caption that reads, "We have never been happier. Thanks for asking." How absolutely creepy, cringe-tastic is that? Like, you have a huge spotlight on your back right now, you know, after allegedly assaulting and abusing your wife not even a week ago, and you're already posting a photo and speaking for her. You know, claiming that everything is fine, nothing to see here, nothing to hear here, I should even say. It's just a really disgusting, tasteless, and tacky move on David's part. He and Jenelle have been going overtime on social media trying to pretend like everything's good, okay, nothing ever happened, but they should simply just be lying low and just staying away from the internet for the time being. I don't understand the obsession with even being on it in the first place, especially when something this serious is coming out. And like, anyone with common sense should know that it's not a good look to go ahead and speak for someone who is an alleged victim of your abuse. That's just peak abuser behavior. I guess what I have to say about this is that it's a really complicated and tough situation because it's very sad for Jenelle to be in a situation like this, and it's very scary. Her mother warned all of us and her about this, that David is probably her scariest boyfriend to date. But, you know, there's nothing we can really say to help her leave, unfortunately, because that's just the way that these sorts of things play out. You know, a lot of people go and ask why her mom or her friends haven't gone and rescued her from the land and stuff like that, but it really is not that simple. A lot of people don't know, but like, when you leave, you know, leaving is probably the most dangerous thing a victim of domestic violence can do. So it really, really, really seriously paints you into a corner where you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. You're abused when you stay, but leaving can also be quite deadly for you. So it's one of those things where I think Jenelle needs to be able to secretly speak with like a hotline or something like that that's able, or like even like 911, something that's able to make sure that she's able to get out of there safely. I don't think like an amateur friend or family is going to be, you know, the perfect fit for her in this situation, especially considering the fact that David Eason is in fact very heavily armed and dangerous. Like, it's really not a get up and leave, why isn't she leaving situation. It's just, you know, a really dangerous way to look at domestic violence and the victims of these situations. Again, it's really, really sad to see this sort of news come out, but unfortunately it is not surprising considering David's very dirty, sordid, checkered past, violent past, both with women and children. But we can only hope that Jenelle does make it out okay. You guys, let me know what you think about this whole entire situation in the comment section down below. And as usual, we'll chat. You can also like this video, subscribe for more. Feel free to share it with your friends as well. And follow me across social media where I absolutely love chatting with you. That's all for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.